guys. All right, hey guys. I want to share with you guys a little bit of my Kelly Criterion simulations. And I also just want to try to put a little bit of mathematical rigor to some of these questions, because I think when you people ask, are you going to a million? Are you going to 500,000, whatever, in what time frame? Often it's thought of as a deterministic thing. Will you hit a million? When are you going to hit a million? And one of the ways mathematicians think of the world is as a stochastic process, right? Well, it's a big word, but it really means that it's a probabilistic process, like a random walk. Think of Brownian motion that just moves up and down. And, if you look at this as a random process, not we will get to a million, buy Bitcoin, you can actually sort of model out different outcomes, right? And so I started to look at different simulations, and I want to share those with you to give, 10 million is absolutely possible without hyperinflation. So I'll just answer that right now. But I want to share with you sort of the way I approach this as a mathematician, right? And, you can see some of my math books here, math and other books, that I have here. So, I actually know what I'm talking about. And like a lot of people who use these words, they don't actually know the meaning of the words. And I do. I have a PhD in mathematics. I understand this stuff pretty well. I'm not as smart as I used to be. I'm an old mathematician, but I do understand this stuff. So let's go to my tweet, and I'm going to show you this tweet. Okay. So, okay, let's make sure where we are here. Okay, perfect. So basically what I did is, and you guys can do this as well. So everything I do is kind of open source. You guys can play with it yourself. And I want you to start thinking about the world, not as a deterministic thing, but as a stochastic thing. Now, the best model that we have, really the only model that we have for Bitcoin, is the power law, right? Which says that, Bitcoin grows really like the time since the Genesis block to the power of 5.8. Now, if you do monthly, you're going to get a different number. If you do block time, you're going to get a different number. So it could be 5.5 if you calculate it on Google Sheets. If you do it daily, you're going to get about 5.8. That's what the numbers say. And you can tell, I just did this with ChatGPT, but you can use Grok, you can use Claude, you can use whatever you want, Gemini. But these are pretty easy to do now. So, the first thing we're going to do is just say, I HODL Bitcoin. I never sell, and I'm just going to HODL Bitcoin forever. Okay. Now, you'll see what happens. On average, I get about 1.2. On average, the mean is about $1.2 million. So I start with $100,000 to get $1.2 million. I start with 100 Bitcoin. I'm going to end up with $130 million, $140 million, right? That's the average. The mean is the median's a little lower, right? Because you're getting this. There is some tail here that you're getting, right? But you're getting a lot of volatility in this. So your average is 1.2 million, but your standard deviation is about 350,000. Now, you could say that doesn't matter, because if you have a time frame, you're going to make somewhere between 8x, okay, and 13x or 12x, right? So, or 13x, yeah. So, really good outcomes, right? Like you're going to make 8, 10 times your money. That's an amazing outcome. One standard deviation, the chance of being in that range of 9 to 12x, that chance there is 67%. Okay, that's just basic central limit theorem. Okay, it's a sort of approximately a normal distribution, right? It's a log normal distribution, right? So now, if we go 2 standard deviations out, right? Well, that's about from 2 standard deviations that we're going from 1.2. 2 standard deviations will take us down to 450. So there's about an 87% chance that we're going to be somewhere between 4x and let's call it 15x. I mean, these are great, but they're very random, and they give you some heart-wrenching kind of moments. Okay, so I want to show you a few other slides before we quit here. So first of all, this thing is pretty amazing. You get to 1.2 million with 355K standard deviation, right? But what if instead of doing this, you rebalanced every year, right? So you rebalance 70%, going to 70% of your portfolio as opposed to 100%, and you just put it in fiat. And I'm assuming you can reinvest it at 9%. So I'm just saying, what if you just went to the STRC instrument of strategy and reinvest at 70%, or you went only to 50%. So every year you may go above 50%, but you're going to rebalance back down to 50% at the end of the year. And we're going to see some pretty interesting things here, right? The first thing you're going to see is that the mean final value, okay, it goes from 1.2 million to 1.08 million under the 70%. So even though you're dramatically dropping the amount of Bitcoin that your max is, you're really only giving up, 14% of upside. And meanwhile, your standard deviation goes down quite a bit, and actually your drawdown goes down really a lot. Okay, so this is really amazing. So let's talk about that. So you can simulate the max drawdown. So your max drawdown went from 31% there to 17% there. It's pretty amazing, right? Your Sharpe ratios are still very, very good. There's no real deterioration in your Sharpe ratios. Sharpe to drawdown ratio is obviously much better. So this is it's not just pulled out of thin air. This is actually a mathematical number that you can get at, and I'm not going to show it to you here, but you can actually compute this thing out yourself using the last 10 years of Bitcoin data. You just look at how many up years, how many down years, how far did it go up, how far did it go down. From that, you can get the Kelly percentage. And right now it's about 70%. If you look at 10 years, if you're looking at 5 years of data, you're going to get a different number. If you're looking at 15 years of data, you're going to get a different number. So, there's a lot, the devil's in the details, right? But let's just say 70%. Now, I would argue that 70% or 50% of your portfolio in Bitcoin are both statistically valid. And this is what the 70% thing looks like. So again, this is the really fat-tailed distribution that you're going to get at 100% Bitcoin. Here, you got much more of a concentrated number. And again, you're at about 900,000 mean. Here, you're at about, 1 million mean. So you drop 10%, but you're getting a lot for that drop. You're getting a lot of peace of mind for that. And so I think this is the optimal way to play Bitcoin. So basically what I would say is come in, start at 70%. Do not start at 100%. If like me, you've held it for a very long time, you're above 70%. I am above 70%. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I put 5% of my portfolio into Bitcoin What is that, 5,000, right? You're at 90%. I get it, right? You know what? I think you have peace of mind. If you can handle the volatility, it's the best strategy. It's just to hold. But if you're going to, your biggest enemy is yourself, Kaplan. That's your problem, right? So I would say doing a 70% Kelly is almost as good. You're almost going to get exactly the same thing as if you just HODL. And I think it could reduce the Malox in your diet. So I really like this. I think this thing has so many mathematical advantages. I could go on and on. This is something I've spent a lot of time thinking about and studying. I really think this is the solution. And by the way, when you put the other 30%, you don't put it in MSTR. You put it in fiat instrument. Okay, so that's it. That's my little math lecture for today.